Good morning, Tuvalu! Can't believe it took me this long to think of Tuvalu. And welcome, Tuvalu, yes, most famous for being the .tv in websites such as twitch.tv. That's actually a country code for the country of Tuvalu, who
Oh, I thought .tv
was for TV. No, that's a little atoll that had no economy until around that age where we were defining the internet .uk, .fr, the country codes, and then they happened to get TV because they're Tuvalu, and it's I think 40 to 60% of that country's economy is selling internet domains that have TV at the end.
Fascinating.
But yes, hello.
Long and prosper.
Yeah, hello, I don't think I've ever said that out loud.
Bengenium.
No, I was right. That's why I've been saying it in my head. I was afraid that this would be the first stream that, Saturday stream that didn't have anyone, but thanks for joining.
I'm always here.
I have to start off. You're usually here. I have to start off, though, because today we're going to do something a little different. It's a little scary, but this might end the stream. I'm just going to point this out. But in reality, I don't think anything should happen. All right, we're still live. I think that's good. Basically, I'm recording and streaming at the same time. So I can get backups of these.
Do you not usually?
No, I was just gonna download them, but I've been lazy. I literally haven't downloaded a single one. But now I finally decided to see what happens. And yes, it works.
Cool.
I still have a bit of my cough.
Me too.
You have a bit of my cough, wow. But I want to start today with actually an amendum. Whoop, my microphone. Every now and then I look at OBS and my microphone's just shot, and I don't know why. I want to start off today with an amendum to last episode. Because last episode I talked about kind of how I wasn't sure of it basically sidestepping the issue of genetic engineering almost. I wasn't sure about how it handled that. I realized I'm actually wrong. I was wrong because I'm watching them in the wrong order. I'm watching Prodigy in the wrong order, essentially. Basically, the episode didn't do anything to address genetic engineering because it didn't have to. That's what the rest of the episodes are for. Because what's going to happen is if you're a kid, Prodigy, it's a kid show. Its primary demographic is kids to get them into Star Trek. If you're a kid watching Star Trek, watching Prodigy, rather, you're going to like your characters, you're going to like Dal and stuff. You'll probably remember that he's like some sort of genetic experiment, human thing, whatever. An augment. I don't remember if they call him an augment or not. And I don't think it'll really get addressed too much. I don't think it'll get addressed at all in the kind of grand scheme of the Federation's policies on augments. But what you're going to do then is eventually you're going to grow up. You're going to remember I'm going to remember Prodigy and be like, hey, there's a bunch of adult shows about that same universe, a bunch of other Star Treks, and eventually you'll hit a Space Seed or whatever TNG introduced it in, or the Deep Space Nine, and you'll run into. Hopefully, you won't start with Strange New Worlds, but because then you'll have a really weird view on the whole thing. But you're gonna hit this anti-genetic engineering. What's a noun for racism? Discrimination, but a noun. You're gonna hit that. Preconception, let's go with that. And they're gonna be like, oh, superior, he's bad because he's genetically engineered. Superior ambition breeds superior ability breeds superior ambition. And then you're gonna sit there and be like, well, hang on, what about Dal? That's not true. But basically, retroactively, that policy is a direct attack on your beloved childhood character Dal. And so the audience themselves is like a bit of a delayed, like they're gonna be the ones whose like initial reaction when they bump into that idea, be it Star Trek, real world, something else, is what about Dow? Like their initial thing is gonna be questioning it, and they're already gonna be kind of preconditioned against that idea. I was thinking of the analogy as well. Say you had a kid, like, you know, in the first decade of the 2000s, you know, maybe mid to late at that side. You could sit down the little kid and, like, try and introduce him to the ideas of climate change and climate ethics and, like, get him prepared and, I don't know, have a good viewpoint, a good solid foundation to learn about that. But it probably wouldn't do you any good because they're gonna grow up in a society where they're just gonna know all that anyway. Like, their society is going to teach them that, even through just, like, doing nothing. You just gather that information. I don't think a lot of this is intentional, but I did want to add a little amendment to that talks about last episode, where, I think I like that now. I like last episode. Quick drink. Because, good that we like last episode, we've established that, because I really don't know how much I have to say about this one. Yeah, let's change the picture you're looking at. That's not a good picture. Here we go. That's not a good picture either. I think this episode was the one that told me we're never gonna get short treks again. Which sounds weird, but hear me out. It was kind of like a short trek style, and it checked off Kurtzman's bucket list of, you know, like, normally I might be, hang on, Kurtzman, are you leaving? Like, are you retiring soon? There are two things that they always said they wanted to do with a Star Trek, and that's a black and white and a sing-along, and this episode featured a black and white musical, not a sing-along, sorry, a musical. So, yeah, it didn't quite go full musical, but it was kind of a nice format. But again, I don't know if I have anything to say really generally about the episode. The scene by scene I'll go through, but even then, it was more like I watched that. I enjoyed that. There were some, I don't even know what to say, like, because I don't want to say problems, I want to say more oddities, but I don't know where to direct it at. I think it's an episode where I'm trying to figure out the mystery that isn't the mystery the episode is dealing with, and I am, not thinking with the characters, so maybe I'm out of it more. Like, I'm thinking, why is the holodeck malfunctioning? I'm trying to think, like, why is Janeway doing this? Because Janeway's the only other character here. Is it even Janeway? Like, you know, because that's a very wide, like, why would it be like, from the onset, you know, it's like, why would it be Janeway sort of thing? And it's, I don't know, I was trying to solve a puzzle that wasn't the skeleton key and wasn't really the one they were doing. I think that's probably it, is, I was out of it a little bit more, trying to analyze the episode and plot, which is usually something I don't do. Even when watching mysteries, I won't tend to think about it too much. If it's a good one, like, I'll just be engaged in the story. And, like, when we watch movies and stuff with my dad, as a family, we'd always be, like, I don't know, a third of the way through, he's like, I bet this guy, you know, the head of the spy agency is gonna betray them. He's actually secretly the villain. I'm like, what? Like, why? That just come out of nowhere. Like, what? He's like, oh, I've been thinking, I'm realizing these things. Like, he's usually right. But he's like, I would have had a much better time had I just not thought about that and enjoyed the movie and been like, oh, head of the spy agency was evil the whole time. He gasped. But yeah. I mean, I guess the moral is always with Prodigy, let's just jump straight into the scene by scene, unless anyone in the chat actually has thoughts. Because I'm also kind of hoping chat spurs on some extra things, get me to realize more. Because Because, yeah, I'm not sure what I have to say. I'll say the opening I found really jarring. Because there's the first moment, like, hang on, if I missed something? Like, no, I can't miss an episode. Because I'd have realized, like, I do these weekly live streams. Before this, I went back and I have to, like, make sure all the numbers and names are right when I make the thumbnails. Like, yeah, I know that I haven't missed one. But then it's, like, more distracting. Like, are we doing some sort of media res? Is this the middle? Like, are we just glossing over that they're here now? Or am I just forgetting? You know, since when I watched the last episode, am I just forgetting? And this is exactly where we left off. But of course, it was a holodeck simulation. I don't know, it just didn't work as well for me. Probably would have been better on, like, a binge, where all the questions of, like, have I skipped well, I'd still ask that, but have I forgotten, you know, anything like that, you don't ask those, because you've kind of, you know, you're watching it as a binge. This scene, I didn't want to address, they never really came back around to it, but I wasn't sure how I felt about a kid's show that featured a scene where everybody got together and very excitedly, happily, and celebratorily tried to drown all their problems and internal conflicts in ice cream. Like, I felt they needed some kind, even if the characters woke up the next day and, like, their tummy hurt, then just something to be like, maybe don't do this. Just, it was the casual, like, I'm sure it's it's realistic. It's like, yeah, they bonded, they had a good time. They did drown their sorrows in food, but, you know, they did a bit with Dal after this scene. He even had, like, computer, turn everything off, let the darkness consume me, or whatever. But, that was just when I felt a bit like, I don't know if you should really have that in your kid's scene. Just realized that this is actually a lot of ice cream for everyone as well. I've also just realized that Zero doesn't have any ice cream, which is a nice touch. I don't think that is ever consciously brought to your attention that Zero doesn't eat, but obviously Zero doesn't eat, at least, like, in his little suit. You know, he presumably has to get energy somehow, like, in his own quarters or whatever. But I love that touch. Did anyone actually use this whipped cream? Oh yeah, you even had things like Gwen taking the whipped cream directly from the can, and everyone's, like, cheering her on. What is it? They're literally they're chanting, like, pile it on or something. I don't remember. It was just one that I feel like you should probably come back to that as a kid's show. You just not so casually kind of have it around. Moving on. What was I gonna say here? God, I had something. Yeah, it was one of those things as well where I know it'll probably be answered in the future, but when they're like, oh, I don't think we ever left the holodeck, my mind goes to, why didn't you? Like, before you had some sort of force acting to, like, change the holodeck program, but this was more, as you're watching it now, in the episode, you don't know that, like, Janeway's done this, so it's like, are you saying because they were in the ship in the simulation, when they left the holodeck, they just left the ship holodeck? They left the holodeck's holodeck. It's the holodeck ship's holodeck. Actually, that does make more sense. When they don't call for the arch, they just leave. I'm actually going to get rid of this criticism, because, yeah, they don't say computer arch and then leave. They end the program. Or do they end the program? Does it... program inception. Okay, does the holographic ship... No, does the... I'm getting knots here. It might work out, actually. I'd have to watch the scenes, but it was a bit jarring. Like, wait, are you saying they just accidentally left? Like, or they accidentally didn't leave the holodeck? Is that a thing that can happen? But yeah. Never mind. I'm just completely rambling in this. I'm gonna move on. Also, I will say, though, I don't think anyone should ever be excited about glitter kisses, which just seems like the messiest thing out. Glitter, it just gets everywhere. You should never bring it on your spaceship, because once you have, like, one fleck on your spaceship, suddenly the whole universe is glitter. No one wants that. I told you, I don't think I'm going to have much for these scene by scenes. They then visit what reminds me of the Lego lighthouse, because it's a lighthouse. Actually, what it reminded me of the first time was the Doctor Who episode, Horror of Fang Rock, with the Fourth Doctor, which takes place on a foggy lighthouse. But yeah, I like this little cozy, presumably fake, adventure scene, like another one of the Dixon Hill, Buck Bokai, I'm sure, Chaotica? No, come on. Someone's got a fake holodeck thing. Janeway? I don't know. You get a lot of these. Oh, the Royal. Is that what it is? The book. From, I think the episode's called, like, The Royale. One of these fake, it's from our time or the before, but it's copyright free because it doesn't actually exist. It felt very kind of escape roomy, basic puzzle game thing, which they always do because that's what they are. Like, in universe, they're escape roomy, puzzly kind of things, where, yeah, everyone just kind of pretty quickly figured out you stack the papers together. It very much did get, like, board game night vibes from this. But I think here we get into some things I do have things to talk about. Logan One, a great Tom Baker episode. I don't think I've seen it since my original walkthrough of classic Doctor Who, Horror of Fang Rock. I'm pretty sure I own it. If it's one of the Blu-ray ones, I do own it. But yeah, famous for being, I think, still the only appearance of the Routons in Doctor Who TV. Which, really, we need a Rutan. Come on, Russell T. Give us a Rutan. Kind of surprised Chibnall didn't. I know this is Star Trek, but I don't know. I could have seen Chibnall going back to the Routons, but he was more about the 80s stuff, wasn't he? And the Routons would be something in the 70s. But no, I liked how they were going through... Let me take a quick drink, actually. I liked how they were going through very different color palettes and settings. So when we got to Jankum, it actually reminded me of the first Psychonauts game, when there's like the luchador, but it's kind of like a black room. Let me just get it up, because I think most people aren't going to see it. And it is, I wouldn't be surprised if there was inspiration taken from that. Psychonauts... luchador, that'll probably be enough. Yeah, Psychonauts is another game that does that. Very, like, distinct levels and rooms. Come on. Let me find a good picture. Okay, that's a small picture. And I'm not going to show my Chrome account this time. There we go. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's this style of, like, a very that version of Mexico luchador stuff, that I was kind of getting similar color palettes and stuff from Jankum. Jankum's little... I keep wanting to say level. I mean, it is based off, like, a Street Fighter, he said. I was a bit confused when he's, like, very slowly walking up to the Tellarites, and I kind of went in my head, like, oh, this is kind of slow and drawn out, and I realized, hang on, that's because there's no way they're gonna let, like, their heroes in the kids show have a street brawl. Like, there's no way they're gonna let Jankum punch a guy. And I was like, I don't know, I feel half points on that, because then he, like, suddenly pulled out, like, a Hadouken, some sort of, like, weird wind wizard thing. I'm like, oh, that's how they're doing it. He's got, like, video game magic, whatever. And then he literally just punches a guy. before this. He just straight up, yeah, I think with his robot arm punches a guy, which did feel a bit odd in like a Nickelodeon kids show. It's not like there's no violence in kid shows. I mean, Steven Universe had like violence and stuff, but similar to that, most of this was kind of that cartoony. Like Murph was super stretchy. You had like it was cartoon violence, is what like it's actually a rating thing in America, cartoon violence. But I feel like I don't know, that punch to the face was not a cartoon violence. But hey, I mean they went with it. They managed to write a street brawl into their kids show. But yeah, I mean I like the style mostly of this bit. It was just kind of pleasant to look at, and yeah, it reminded me of that amazing Psychonauts level that those screenshots are not doing justice. And then, another drink. We get into the bit where I went, oh, finally, Kurtzman's bucket list. I think I even said, like, I see we're checking off Kurtzman's bucket list, that black and white episode. Which, if you don't know, short treks, they originally wanted to do a lot of weird things like that. I actually really like that pitch of short treks more, where the things I've heard from interviews and stuff, like they wanted to do a black and white episode. What? Like, they don't know, but they're like maybe a Chaotica thing, like it's just a short Chaotica episode. I think it's Captain Proton, I suppose. And they're like, yeah, they wanted a short trek that was just a sing-along. Why is it a musical? Why is it a musical? I don't know, but I just love that. If you could just embrace the ludicrous present and write up a ludicrous word premise, there you go, and just like write here's the space reason it's a musical. Yeah, I think that'd be great. I can't remember. It probably would be Lower Decks, but I can't remember the last time Star Trek just kind of embraced a ludicrous present. A ludicrous premise. And I think there's some others I can't quite remember. But yeah, I'd like that version of short treks. And some of these felt like that. Like, I don't know, Star Trek, but it's street brawler. Star Trek, but it's pirates. Star Trek, but it's black and white. Murph's level... Why am it feels like a Psychonauts game, which is completely different settings and stuff. Was of course amazing. As he was saying, like, someone take up the mic. I'm like, God, I hope it's Murph's. Logan 1, new comment. My immediate thought for a black and white short trek would have been something with Captain Proton / Bride of Chaotica. Yeah. I think Paris... what are their actual names? Oh my god, it's Harry Kim is Garrett Wang. Robert Duncan McNeil. Yeah, I think they've both said they'd be down for that. Just like just like a 10-minute Captain Proton thing. But I love that weird, like, the idea of the short little, almost like What If, I guess. Marvel's What If, where it's like, yeah, it's just the weird kind of experimental episodes that, like, they're probably not all going to be good, but they're all going to be interesting and, like, kind of weird. Or even just, like, yeah, we used Children of Mars is Picard Episode 0. I like that as well. Like, Short Trek has potential. I guess its biggest downfall, if I'm being honest, is that it's primarily set in like season 2 of Discovery, which is on tied for the worst season of television I've ever seen of something. So it just took place in an era in a show that I didn't find good. But yeah, I don't think we're getting it back. I think the pandemic shut down like kind of the steamroll that was going, and I think they're probably just too busy.
Microphone.
Hi, Alex.
Microphone.
Oh yeah, on the screen. But right, god damn it.
Piano. Microphone.
Hang on,
Blob
I'll get there.
person.
I'll get there. I saw that. We all saw the preview. We all saw the thumbnail I wanted. Here we go. No. Here we go. This episode has this. This episode has Murph singing whatever song he sang in like some black and white fedora thing. Basically, yeah. Bear in mind, Murph is the character voiced by the like Perry the Platypus, Momo, lion guy. Yeah, Murph is the I don't speak, I make weird sound noises. So Murph definitely speaks. This isn't weird lip syncing or anything. No, Murph can just do this, and I love it. And every other time, he just chooses not to speak. Or, like, he doesn't even realize that it's something he could do. Murph just comes here and sings, like, smooth jazz and 20s music. It's just in his free time. And Zero had that line.
That was a 20s song. That was a 1930s song.
I don't know. This was probably, like, a 22nd century song Murph sang. I don't remember. But it wasn't in the Fallout catalog, but I could see it in there. Yeah.
A bunch of vaudeville songs that might work.
Zero had a line that was like, or he's just really good lip syncing. No, bad Zero. Don't give them an out. This is exactly what I was talking about. This is taking a weird premise and just rolling with it. 'Cause like, that's not all Star Trek has to be more than that, but every now and then we just need that. And no, in my opinion now, Murph can just do this at any time he wants. But, like, he only does it in this setting, or, like, with a fedora. But Murph can definitely talk. I'd also be curious if that was actually D. Bradley Baker, which would really nail that for me. But also, if it was just, like, a recording, or they got someone who could actually sing, assuming D. Bradley Baker can't, that's just what Murph sounds like. But no.
I knew I had heard. So he can't. I know he could sing.
Which one?
D. Bradley Baker.
Which character?
Number 4.
God, when did number 4 sing? Wait, is that the
the
orange sweatshirt?
William Fancyson.
Is number 4 the orange sweatshirt?
Yeah.
That's D. Bradley Baker?
Yeah.
Wow, how did I miss that when I looked him up the other day? I was like, did he actually have a speaking role? Or is it all just weird?
Number 4, Wallaby Beatles. He also voices Klaus.
He does a lot. Like, it's a lot of childhood characters. Unless, I guess, you're my dad, in which case, probably not childhood characters. But, you know, yeah, that guy had, right, Centipedal, Lion, and
I mean, it wasn't good
someone
singing,
else.
but he can sing. There's a lot of
This was definitely, like, a professional. Like, an older style, but it was definitely a professional. Speaking of voices, it was kind of weird. It was really weird, actually, hearing... Yeah, what I can only presume is the diviner's actual voice, that voice actor. Because it had twinges of, like, hello, I'm the diviner, and I was gonna do a voice, and then I could hear my throat just go, no, that's a coughing fit. And, I have to prevent that coughing fit. Yeah. That was kind of weird, because there were hints of his voice, but then it's like, oh, wait, that's like a normal person. It's either Martok or Quark also has that, I think, in Pale Moonlight. Maybe there's a few characters that when they do their normal speaking voice or something, like Gowron has it as well, right? When he plays... Does he actually appear as Sayonara? I don't think that's the name of his character, but in, Bing Bada Bang? No. The Best Is Yet to Come? No, it's Bing Bada Bang. I was right the first time. It's like one of the Vic Fontaine episodes. Yeah, it was weird hearing, I guess, how he actually sounds. But yeah. I don't have too much to say about here. I think we had a start of maybe a Gwen arc of, like, you can pave a path without your father. You know, you can pave your own path. We had maybe our first insight into Gwen's deeper inner conflicts. Like, obviously, she's betrayed her father. You know, that's been a kind of pretty running theme. But even before that, like, about how he put the weight of their world on her shoulders. which I didn't realize Gwen knew. I don't think she knew right away. I think we actually might have seen her learn that. Or maybe she knew it was the weight of the world, but not why or from what. I don't remember. But either way, I bet... Hang on, is this the longest section? Because, yeah, it ends there. Okay, it's not the longest, but yeah, either way, I'm sure this section saved a lot of money on what was otherwise a very heavy in the set and people and costumes department, which is all the animation department, but still. You may notice the same Tellarite characters being reused over and over again, because internally this is a video game, like reusing assets. I do want to say, though, I kind of like how the hidden passage is, like, kind of dumb and not very well thought out, not because it's written badly, but because the in-universe plot is written badly. Because, like, yeah, the piano's got a bad key. You might not hear it right away. I don't know if it was there all the time. That would be amazing if it was. But once Rock Talk starts to notice it, they definitely do play a wrong key every now and then. Presumably the one of the two next to that key. And you can hear it. Excuse me for a moment as my lungs die. And we're back. Or not. Now we're back. Now we're back. Hopefully this is gone. I'll tell you when this is going to be gone. It's the week after Prodigy ends, when there are no live streams. Yeah, then Pirate Adventure with the same Tellarite dudes. I'll say this had a joke that did make me chuckle. It's this guy right here, where he's like, we must find the skeleton key. He's like, everyone leaves. He's like, I am going to jump overboard to look for the skeleton key. And then he just dives overboard. So dumb. But I did get a chuckle out of that one.
I can't believe the Sims have a pirate expansion pack now. Holy shit.
They've got all sorts of expansions now. If you think they're bad now, right? Wait till we get to Deep Space Nine. Because I know that I'm going to spend the whole series hearing about the Kardashians.
Keeping up with the Kardashians.
Yeah. I don't know if you could hear that, but Alex did just say the name of that Kardashian show. And every time there's a pause, every time there's a pause, when I say either Kardashian or Kardashian, it's definitely because I'm trying to remember which is which. I don't want to get it wrong. Okay. Yes, we now have... I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get to see, what's his face? Rock Talk's Chow Garden. Which I do very much appreciate that Rock Talk, his recreation is clearly just the Chow Garden from Sonic Adventures 2.
Chows!
Yep.
I love chows.
If you can't hear Alex loving chows, I think that's all both me and Alex independently did as kids when we played Sonic Adventures 2, was just the Chow Garden.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know what it is, imagine what Rock Talk described in this episode. That's the end of the sentence.
I love chows so much that when my brother's game ended up getting scratched.
Over here.
Scratched so much we weren't able to play it anymore. My best friend came over and she offered to take care of my chows for me so that they didn't end up on a corrupted memory card. So
Wow.
she came over with her edition of the disc. We popped the memory cards in and we transferred all my chows over. My brother was like, I worked hard to help you earn those chows. I was like, we can't even play the game, Ryan. They're gonna starve.
Wow.
So to this day, my friend has a few chows that are mine on her system.
Can I get a picture? Here we go. It is currently a sea monster. Ignore that. It's tinier.
A baby.
But
It's just a baby.
there we go, yeah. Just
Yeah,
imagine
it's a baby.
smaller and not a sea monster.
What do you mean? That's just a fishy. It's a cute fishy.
Okay.
I don't understand what's bad about it.
I will say this bit is much. This bit was just. God, this one hit me hard. Where the way the plot moves forward in this part is literally out of nowhere. Gwen sends up and says, "Hey, look, Murph found the next part of the clue." And then Murph jumps up with this random compass, literally from just like off frame, out of set from the other room. What? I know it doesn't matter, but like, you couldn't have found a way to set that up in any way. There's a Tellarite still on the ship, okay? And when it starts rocking and taking up water, he like rolls down the stairs and like he bounces overboard. And at the same time he rolls down, a pocket watch falls out and rolls in front of Murph.
Pocket watch.
Contrived? Maybe. Better than what they did. But also, like, the holodeck wants them to find these clues. So it's internally, like, as a game, what normally is kind of like, you know, not great, not as tight writing, or like this is clearly fiction, is because in universe it is fiction. But that rubbed me. It's like, you really couldn't find any other way of getting that compass on screen than having a character go, "Stop! Hey, look! Murph found a compass!" Off screen, he jumps up with this random compass. Yeah. That's kind of a little thing, but also it's such like a core. I don't know, if you handed that in like your writing class, the teacher would hand it back and be like, "Fix that," you know.
Good thing this is Nickelodeon, who denied my. Did I tell you got the email saying they didn't want to hear more about my pilot?
Yeah, my into the Star Trek through my partner at Nickelodeon didn't work out.
Dreams were crushed.
Yeah, dreams were absolutely crushed.
Because Nickelodeon doesn't want a story about an autistic person of color who enters a magical realm, apparently.
I like how this is what you're saying now, but like every other time since you entered that competition, you've been like, "I probably won't even hear back. Like, they're definitely not going to select me."
I know.
Didn't they literally ask for that? They literally asked for that in their competition.
Yeah. We want normal people in abnormal situations and people who are underrepresented.
I don't know. What's more entertaining to watch? Normal people in abnormal situations or abnormal people in normal situations? Because I feel like the latter is probably more interesting.
Well, the entire second season, if they would have taken me, would have been about abnormal people in our world from the original world.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you could make that into like a thing that lasts very long, but is that like what Invader Zim was? And then there's Solar Opposites, which I haven't seen, but I think that's just the premise. It's like there's aliens. It's Rick and Morty, but there's aliens on Earth. It's Rick and Morty, but it's Invader Zim, I think. But yeah, I will say, after I just critiqued the writing, I really liked how this thing was done. It was kind of all at the end, but actually there were some bits in between. Like earlier when Rock Talk was like, the holodeck has thousands of programs, why is it choosing just ours? It's like, I've actually never thought of that, like in any Star Trek. But yeah, like, let alone this episode, why is it just choosing ours? It might have been easier, like, a bit neater if they set it up, in case you hadn't seen the other Star Trek, because I didn't know that. Like that, if I have a complaint about it, it's that it's all kind of, I won't say exposited at the end, but just kind of stated it, like, as they come up. Not quite set up. But I think it's very well done, like, the real-world mystery of why they're in the holodeck. It had satisfying conclusions. The people, Zero's, like, reasoning was very sound, very logical. I liked all that. I thought it was very well done. I don't remember most of it for, like, specific examples. But yeah, no, things like, as one, the Tellarite, who was, like, always the same Tellarite character that was like, "Oh, come on," I don't remember what he said the first time. It's like, "Stay here a while, like, sing a song, get ready for a long voyage." And it shifted as well from like what he said the first time to trying to get him to stick around in one place to trying to get him just to do one thing for a long time. I thought all the reasoning was very well done and very tight, and not at all belonging in an episode where someone says, "Everybody stop! Hey, look, the character off screen has found the next piece of the puzzle." That is Prodigy's version of, now that's what I call an inner conflict, which, now that Logan has referenced knowing classic Doctor Who, I think Logan has unleashed the floodgates. I can now make Doctor Who references, and at least one person will get them. Okay. Moving on to the holodeck scene. I did like as well, I was kind of like, is Janeway doing this? Like, more how's Janeway doing this? Just kind of accepting that premise, I guess. And then Gwen at the end is like, Janeway, did you lock us in here and turn off the safety protocols? She's like, I would never do such a thing. I'm like, oh, wait, yeah. Like, Janeway might lock him in the holodeck. I thought she was maybe some sort of bonding thing, or like, hey, here's how to deal with your trauma, not by eating loads of ice cream. But I was like, no, why would Janeway turn off the safety protocols? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It reminds me, it's not Doctor Who for the joke, but it reminds me of a Doctor Who episode that I was actually watching recently. Knock Knock, it's 12th Doctor, where Bill buys a big house. That's the episode. And at the end, it's the Doctor's giving his big speech of like, oh, this is what happened. I figured it out. Look how clever I am. And it's like a kid who goes to like no, wait, which way does the story go? It's like a mom. No, it's a father with a sick kid, like a sick daughter, and so he goes out to like find some bugs in the garden, and he brings them in to cheer her up, and that's like the crux of the story. And then he does the whole thing. It's sad, and the companion's like, "Hang on, Doctor, that doesn't make any sense. Like, who the heck would go get bugs and just bring them to their kid to cheer him up?" He's like, "What?" And it kind of had that moment. So this whole time I was like, why would Janeway be doing this? I'm like, oh yeah. They turned off the safety protocols, which, as we all know, are the first thing to go. Which, we joke about that, like, the safety protocols are the first thing to go every time. But I was thinking about it this episode, and, like, those have actually got to be insanely complicated if they're actually simulating what's around you. Like, to recognize something could do harm, and to prevent it from doing harm without actually ruining the simulation. Like, how do you punch Jankum across a room but not have it hurt? If you know what I mean. Like, it's actually probably a pretty complex system that could go wrong fairly easily. Then again, you could say the same thing about the inertial dampeners, and they always work. Within, like, barring some shaking. But, yeah, let's go in here. It's another weird instance that happens a lot in Star Trek. I'm gonna take a drink first, though. As the crew is leaving, Janeway, like, literally says, computer, create the simulation, yada yada. 5 feet behind them, maybe. But Janeway is the computer, so surely she could just think it. Like, it's the classic, why does the Doctor read problem, and that's the Star Trek Doctor, not the Doctor Who one. If the Doctor is a hologram who is part of the ship's computer, why does he read books when he could just absorb the medical knowledge? When it, like, for entertainment, sure, he reads the book, but if it's like doing medical research, why doesn't he just upload it? I don't normally have a problem with that, but for this one, when, like, the kids are 5 feet from her, because, of course, they both have to be in the holodeck, this camera caught it. This camera was able to, record the audio, which means that the kid sure as heck would have heard it. But yeah, I think, I did want to check this, because I noticed right before the scene transitioned, when Janeway plots coordinates to the Federation, I'm pretty sure she goes to Terra. Terran. I thought it said Terran, but I'm like, that is a very weird label. Oh, it's a sector. It's the Terran sector, where Earth is on the border, because...
The Karen sector?
Well, actually, of course, Earth would be on the border. Oh! Oh my god, is
Why
this...
is there a Karen sector?
First, it's the Terran sector, because that's where Earth is. But,
Oh, that's why it's the Karen sector.
I think this is the first ever true... this is the first canonical confirmation that Earth is the Alpha-Beta Quadrant line. Because this is the only sector with this really thick line right where Earth is, which is why Earth is not in the Terra sector, but on the border, because you wouldn't have a sector, like, crossing the quadrant lines. But, yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to argue, well, it's not on the line, it's kind of, like, off a bit to the side. But no, that is very clearly right on a very hard line. I have to drink. I'm dying. Other thing about this map, why are the Romulans a sector and a half from Earth and also on the right? I mean, maybe the map is sideways, in which case the Alpha-Beta line doesn't work. Why are they there? Hang on, if they've come from the Delta... Oh, wait, what? Plot this line, Janeway. Okay. This map... I need to draw on the screen. Can I do that in OBS? Can you see? You can see my mouse. So, circle. We've got this line here with the Alpha and Beta quadrant. We got the line here. Intermission. Capital. Okay. Delta, Gamma, Alpha, Beta. We know that Prodigy has been in the Delta quadrant, but skirting the Beta...
Why are they going through an acute angle?
Look. I have to... We're talking geometry here. We know that...
This is also geometry. It's an acute angle.
We know that Prodigy is...
That's not geometry. That's...
I have to... Look, there's a lot wrong with this path. I'm trying to explain it. We know that Prodigy... No, the Protostar has been in the Delta quadrant, but skirting that border with the Beta quadrant and heading towards the center of the galaxy. So they've been doing this with my mouse here. Wait, why can't you see my mouse anymore? Dang it. They've been doing this with my mouse here. So now we know they're in they're in the neutral zone.
Romulans.
Which actually means that
they've broken.
They're between Federation and Romulan space.
Wait, isn't going through the neutral zone an act of war?
Yes, but they're not the Federation in this one. Okay. So there's a Federation Romulan border on the Delta Beta Quadrant line, which doesn't really make sense.
I'm confused in my head.
We're gonna roll with it, because if the Protostar's here, that means that this Romulan border is in the Delta Quadrant, right? Or they had to go through, like, all of Romulan space to get to where they are in the neutral zone? Which isn't true, because the Dauntless followed them. So they would have had to go through the Federation space, or, like, skirt this line. I really like the left half of this map. The right half of this map makes absolutely no sense. Alex is also right that their flight path is a bit strange. In this kind of weird S. I think, I'll say, maps in modern Star Trek, by and large, have been really good. The Star Trek universe has always been pretty nebulous when it comes to maps. I need a drink. This stream is not going on for much longer. But other than this right here, I think they've done a great job with maps. Stream might be done. Let me look. Oh yeah, Dauntless is here. I was just gonna go, can we trust Janeway? I don't know. I don't have time to articulate these thoughts.
Stop trying to die.
We're getting close to the end, though. Episode 17? I'm pretty confident. Yep. 18, 19, 20. 3 episodes left, so no, let's do this.
You just have to count on your fingers.
Episode...
I'm not letting
18.
You just have to count on your fingers.
I had to verify. What is...
You had to verify 3?
It's 17 to 20. Look, I'm counting for them. And also, it's 17... It's episode 17. It's 18 to 20. Is that 2 episodes or 3? See? You had to think about it.
Did you...
You thought about it.
Shut up.
See? You thought about it.
Shut up.
Here's the thing. I can think about it and not use my fingers. Or I could use my fingers and be sure before I can verify. I need my own streaming room. Okay. We're gonna predict the plots, which is hard because we don't know where Prodigy is ending. Is there a season 2? Can anyone in the chat confirm if we know if Prodigy's got a season 2 confirmed? I suspect it does. I don't think this is the end of the show. But 18 is this confrontation with the Dauntless. The Diviner stuff. Oh god, I forgot. Janeway's not in command of the Dauntless right now, is she? She's unconscious, like the Diviner and Vindicator aren't. But that's gonna come to a head. That's gonna be 18. That's gonna be episode 18. 19 and 20, 2-parter. Where are we ending? I wouldn't be surprised if we end... They wouldn't do that. I was gonna say, they make it to the Federation, but the Federation basically gives them permission to leave and go off on their own. Oh, duh. No. I think that'll be it. I think they might make contact with the Federation, but Chakotay's still out there. They gotta, like, go get Chakotay. They gotta try and rescue him, but, like, how do they do that? They might wibble-wobble why these kids are, like, on the mission. Would Janeway go rogue? Old Janeway, Voyager Janeway would 100% go rogue. I don't know about this new Janeway, though. That's actually well-written, but that's unfair. But I talked about that before. Also, notice how my voice is, like, miraculously good now. I don't understand either. Yeah, without an endpoint, it's so hard to predict. But I think episode 18 is going to be this confrontation that this episode set up. And then it's going to be a 2-parter that wraps up this season and brings us on to the next. I'm also still not opposed to Prodigy just becoming Academy. But I was going to say I think we'd have heard about Academy by now, but not if it was like major Prodigy spoilers. And again, I'm kind of in the team that Academy is going to be a Tilly show in the 32nd century. I think that's where the setup for Academy has been. Even if it's not a Tilly show, I think it's a 32nd century show. But, yeah. Let's kind of go back on those details I glossed over. Yeah, I mean, Janeway's now, like... Janeway's clearly shaken up, like... Janeway can't even trust herself. Like, you know, the construct can just take over, or whatever, I guess. Like, where's that going? Are you gonna have something very similar to Control, where, like, it kind of takes over the ship, and it's gonna attack the Federation? That's what it's doing right now, actually. It could attack the Dauntless, but... Huh. I don't know. It's hard to say where it's going, and it's hard to even say, like, if it just ended after one season, that'd be shocking. Like, the money must have gone into creating the standard sets for Prodigy, like the protostar, the characters, the everything. We know the time was like a lot. Off the top of my head, probably like the longest of any of the Star Treks, except maybe Discovery, because I don't know, maybe Discovery had a roller coaster, and it was the first. But to throw that out after one season, it just seems crazy to me. It's important to remember that kid shows generally don't go on for too long, unless you're like SpongeBob or one of those huge huge things. Which that's not what Prodigy is. That's not what Star Trek is a franchise is right now. Star Trek is a franchise is a revolving door of shows that are different from each other. It just takes a while for that door to revolve. But a lot of the big shows, actually, there might be personal information here. Hang on. What is on the Paramount Plus window? I'm gonna go, and we're gonna do a little experiment. Because, yes, I can show the screen. I happen to remember that if you scroll down, I get recommended a bunch of kids shows. And a lot of these kid shows are famous. I can tell you right now, Avatar, that's 3 seasons. The Last Airbender. Jimmy Neutron, I'm pretty sure is 2. I'm actually going to do this on my phone to avoid weird Windows things. Jimmy Neutron, like huge cultural show. Everyone I know knows it. Animated 3 seasons, 2002. Danny Phantom, again, a huge one. I feel like it was on all the time as a kid.
It had like 4 seasons.
Doesn't say how many seasons, but it was a 3-year run from 2004 to 2007. Oh, here we go. Episode guide. It had 3 seasons. Danny Phantom is 53 episodes.
Should have been more.
Steven Universe is 5 seasons, but it's 20-minute episodes. Invader Zim, isn't it?
11-minute episodes.
Sorry, yeah, it's 11-minute episodes. Like, Steven Universe's runtime is, like, you could easily watch it in 3 days. Isn't it? We did it once. Wasn't it, like, 20 hours or something?
I don't think you could watch it in 3 days. Because I once, before one of the, like, Steven bombs came out, watched it I watched it within, like, 24 hours.
When I was building the Lego, I swear, that was, like, 3 days.
Oh, yeah, you did it in, like, 3 days.
Invader Zim, 2 seasons. Like, kid shows generally don't last too long, and the reason you remember them is they just do, like, reruns. The reason they felt like they went on forever is reruns. There are exceptions. But Prodigy is not going to be some, like, 7-season one. I mean, what we've just learned is it's probably going to be, like, 2 or 3 seasons. 3 seasons, like Picard length. This does feel like a story where you're gonna reach an end pretty naturally, relatively quickly, and, like, there's not much point going on. In, like, 15 years, we'll get a Prodigy all grown up, and no one will like it, and people will be sad. But, yeah, it's... I think it's more than season 1. It's more than a season. It'd be weird to just leave Chakotay out there. Like, that would be weird. I know there have been stirs of Star Trek Janeway, a Picard style, well, in the fact that, bringing back the legacy captain. I don't think there have been production stirrings of Star Trek Janeway, but I know Janeway's been up for it. The Voyager cast have slowly been rumbling awake into modern Star Trek, or been, like, up for something. I think I know there have been conversations between, like, Mulgrew and Kurtzman, and people like, yeah, what would a Star Trek Janeway be like? I was even reading an article before this that with Chakotay being, what did that article say, actually, like 20, 50 years in the future? I think if they said 50. Either way, they're in front of Picard, And so the present day of Star Trek is like Chakotay. In some sort of Chakotay series, I could even see that, like Star Trek Chakotay, where, hey, Chakotay, you're 50 years in the future, what do you do now? Maybe it'd be too similar to Voyager, but I would not say no to basically the Voyager in that, they can't contact the Federation. They have no real hope of getting home, but, consequences. Because the biggest thing now, like, if you were to sum up Voyager in 2 words, it would be missed opportunity. Because I like Voyager. Voyager's good. But Rick Berman was allergic to serializations and addicted to the reset button. This is true. Voyager never had real consequences for being 70,000 light years from home. Voyager could always just repair itself. It could always just find where it needed. It had limited photon torpedoes until season 4 or 5, where the writers decided that no one else was counting, so why should they? Which is true, by the way. They were counting, and you can tell the point they stopped. If you're counting, it's obvious, which also, what the heck are you doing? Watching Voyager and not counting its torpedo usages? Like the instant Chakotay said, we only have however many torpedoes, I sat up on my couch, cracked my knuckles, and went, right then, I'll be the judge of that. But also, it's like one of the first episodes of season 4 or 5. I think it's The Void, with like Melons and stuff. They fire literally 12 torpedoes or something in that episode. And you're like, oh, I guess they stopped caring. But no, some sort of Chakotay and some other dudes are trapped 50 years in the future. It's just be in the Federation. They gotta be the Federation. Maybe they set up a little place. I don't know. Maybe they try and deal with the fallout of the Diviner's planet. Probably not. I could definitely see stories spurring off of Prodigy. I'd almost be surprised if a story didn't come off of Prodigy. Be it Star Trek Janeway, Star Trek Chakotay, Star Trek Prodigy all grown up, Star Trek Prodigy 2, New Horizons. I almost said New Boogaloo, because I was debating between the Orville reference or Electric Boogaloo. But yeah, I don't think we'll... Well, time-wise, I think we'll be here for quite a bit, because it takes a while to make Prodigy. But story-wise, I can't see too many episodes for every reason I've just talked about. My voice is going again. I got an hour's out of this. That was good. That's usually the goal, about an hour. Next week is not Christmas, but I think... Yeah, episode 19 falls on Christmas Eve. Episode 20 falls on New Year's Eve. I don't know if I'm going to get many people for those, but I'll probably be here for both of those. So yeah, I'll give people some time. Let me just flash that so I know when you're caught up, to type out any thoughts you want to say before we close off, but I think I have said everything I wanted to, and coughed far more than I would have hoped. While I'm waiting for that, I'm actually going to take a look. Prodigy, there's episode lengths I like. I heard recently Doctor Who, under Russell T. Davies again, is going to be 8-episode seasons. I heard that from a Redditor who said, we know that it's going to be 8 episodes. So, apparently it was announced, and I missed it, but take that with a grain. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow. That's not a lot. Oh, you can't see this. Yeah, I mean, it's been some pretty good episodes. They're kind of generic. I like how it's kind of generic-y stuff. Just good-looking shots, and then you're like, Enterprise D. These TOS uniforms. But yeah, not bad. Not bad, I would say. And there we go. You've all caught up with me. So yeah, looks like everyone is good. So I'm gonna say thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm gonna cough, but I'm gonna save it for after the stream.